Hello there, Survivor fans! This is the Survivor Super Fun Time Show, and today's the day. It is the cast reveal day for Survivor 45. That means, a lot of those people that I made a video about not too long ago, those folks that were unofficial, we now know they're official and what tribe they're going to be on. Entertainment Weekly just released the cast photo and also several individual photos along with their bios and all that kind of fun stuff. And in this video, we're just going to go over some of the impressions that we now have of the official material and some of the writing that has gone along with these castaways, so we can get a little bit more of their personality, what they do, why they want to win the game, and I think that'll better help formulate as to who I think ultimately is going to do well in the game, who's probably going to flame out, who's going to be fan favorites, and who possibly could even win the game. And remember, if you enjoy this content, hit the subscribe button so we can keep growing the Survivor Super Fun Time community. There's going to be recap episodes for each episode of Survivor 45. It's going to be really exciting, mainly because right now we're working on getting castaways lined up. So make sure to hit the subscribe button so we can see more of that. But in the meantime, let's start getting it together. We're going to talk about some of the folks on this upcoming season. We're going to start with Austin Lee Kuhn, a guy who I'll tell you right now, I think is going to be a favorite of myself and the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. 26 years old, currently living in Chicago, Illinois. He's a grad student. He would describe himself as ambitious, sweet, and clumsy. And he likes to compare himself so much to Owen Knight of Survivor 43. Owen Knight's been on the show. I love Survivor Owen Knight. He's wonderful. I mean, hopefully it's not just the long hair, Asian, outdoor loving stuff like he says over here. I think there's a good attitude with Owen in there, and it looks like he compares his game, hopefully, to Jay from Millennial vs. Gen X, and also Wendell, the winner of Survivor Ghost Island. And those are two awesome people to compare to. I get a sense of happiness and joy and laughter, and to some degree like a Woo or a Greg Buis maybe. I love that. And that's really important here. He says laughter's the key to his heart. And that's what I'm getting. I'm getting athletic, real big challenge competitor, but also really fun, super into the experience of it all. This guy's gonna make the merge. Definitely gonna do that. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. And he likes anime. He said Naruto is an inspiration. Now, I'm not a Naruto watcher, but I love Hunter x Hunter, Chainsaw Man, a lot of stuff. So it looks like he may have the juice to actually get very far, which is really exciting. Next up is D. Valedrius, I'm not sure. I'll have to get on that. 26 years old, from Havana, Cuba. Now living currently in Miami, Florida, is an entrepreneur. Would describe herself as fiery, wildly enthusiastic, and empathetic. Really important traits in order to win Survivor. One of the main reasons why she wants to win Survivor is she wants to look at that immigrant kid watching the show and remind them that power is beyond measure. Super inspirational right away from her, and it reminds you a little bit of like Jam Jam last season, along with Heidi, coming from Puerto Rico. Big inspiration for folks that are from out of the continental US, and be able to give a lot of inspiration for kids that are in a similar situation, that they can go out there and they can be total badasses. Which previous player do you identify with the most, and who do you think will play the most like? Identify the most with Jessie from season 43. 43 getting some love. Love Jessie over here. Says everything is pretty similar in that she loves her family, and that's what it's all about, above everything else. Would love to play like Tony. Tony Vlachos from Survivor Cagayan, Game Changers, and of course the winner of Winners at War. Although I think you would think a little bit differently about that, because Tony's games honestly are a little chaotic. I don't think I would ever choose to play like Tony, even though I think he's objectively really fun. Pet peeves: bad tippers, road ragers, being late. I'm with you on being late, and road ragers is awful, but I don't know, tipping's getting out of control, so we'll see. Biggest inspiration is her daddy. Love that, always a big fan of that. And looks like she's gonna be the person who goes out there and doesn't quit and is gonna win the game. So love some good inspiration here from Dee. She's got some good vibes, and I'm kind of curious where I think she's gonna fall on the spectrum, but I don't know, I'm not sure. She's gonna fall somewhere in the middle. Brandon Donlin. This is the 26 years old, hometown Sicklerville, New Jersey, and living currently in New Jersey. I thought it was Philadelphia, but I don't know, close enough in the area there. Words to describe them: empathetic, inquisitive, and relatable. This content producer, that's their job. They love Survivor, and they apparently hate board games. Brandon is tired of being typecast as a board game player, and absolutely is not a fan of those. In fact, hates Settlers Catan. This guy worships Mike White from David vs. Goliath and the writer slash creator, whatever you want to call it, of White Lotus on HBO. So good comparison there. It says, I hope to play like the other Survivor writers, David Wright, Cochran, Penner. I think Brandon is pigeonholing himself personally. I think, no pun intended necessarily, he is writing himself into a corner as a character on TV. That's unfortunate. Penner would never go for that. What will you value in an alliance partner? Comfort. I'm so anxious during my day-to-day life. I can imagine it'll be 10 times worse on Survivor. I would probably agree with you on that one, Brandon. That's a good choice there. Like, you want to have Jesse and Cody. Like, Cody probably needed Jesse, and Jesse was happy to have Cody because he was so opposite in 43. So, good decision there. One of his favorite hobbies is antiquing, which I think is quite funny, actually, and leaving a party without telling anybody. One of my favorite things on the planet. As a fellow Philadelphia area boy, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Brandon right now, for sure. Brandon describes himself as Charlie who just got his ticket to the chocolate factory and he's not going to blow it. And hopefully you don't, Brandon, because I have a lot of good vibes coming toward you, and I hope it works out. I do think he's going to go far, which is very fortunate. Hopefully he does, and I'm not dead wrong. I have a history of being really bad at predicting who like the final three is going to be. I think I said Carson was going to be the first boot of last season, so you can't really take my word for it necessarily. Next up is Emily Flippin. I'm flipping for Emily Flippin. 28 years old, from McKinney, Texas, now living in Laurel, Maryland. Occupation, investment analyst. Words to describe her. Direct, genuine, aggressive. She's genuinely directly aggressive at your ass, which is, it's interesting. When you combine that with down here, why will you be the sole survivor? I like a lot of the traditional qualities that make a good Survivor player. I'm out of shape, I don't really like the outdoors, and people can find me off-putting. Yeah, I have some questions as to whether or not Emily is going to thrive in this game. But, you know, that's not really fair to count against her as far as her overall win potential, because there are people like Abby Maria that got very far in 2 games. 2 games! And she was pretty universally disliked among the cast while they were playing the game. Sometimes you need to drag those people to the end. Emily may have some horns forming to being that little goat. She does compare herself to Chaos Cass, which is not surprising. That's the wonderful lady from Survivor Cagayan, who we all know for a lot of similar attributes. However, Cass is a very unique bird, and that's really important to mention, because right now we have Survivor Bird Island is basically going to be the theme of the season. So maybe strange birds are in right now, and hopefully that's a Chaos Cass replica over here. Only the best of luck to Emily, but it's not looking great for you right now in my mind. We'll see. Next up is Brando Meyer. 23 years old, from Oak Park, California, currently living in Seattle, Washington, the software developer. 3 words that describe him: curious, clever, and motivated. Why do you want to be a part of Survivor? Playing Survivor has been a dream of mine since I was 10 and watched Nicaragua with my parents. I am stunned that this kid continued to watch Survivor if his first season was Survivor Nicaragua. All the love in the world to the winner, Fabio. This is actually the season, Nicaragua, where I made it past the first round in casting. I ultimately obviously didn't get on the show, but Nicaragua holds a special place in my heart, even while I know that it wasn't a very good season. Which player do you most likely identify with, and who do you think you'll play like? Identifies most as David Wright from Millennials vs. Gen X. That's who he was inspired by to push past his limits. And he thinks he'll play the most like Yao Man, strategic, innovative, and friendly. Although he doesn't want to give away any trucks to Dreams. Favorite hobbies: running, disc golf, baseball, and Pokemon Go. And puns. He considers puns to be a hobby. All right. I feel as deflated as I would actually if I was sitting there in the room with him telling a pun. That's not a hobby. Pet peeves: when someone takes the urinal directly next to you when there are plenty of others open. What I've learned from this is Brando's a little pee shy, and he's not willing to, you know, play a little game. You play a quick game of tic-tac-toe on the wall in between the 2 urinals. Everyone does this. This is a universal canon experience. And I don't know why Brando's fighting it. It's really weird. Accomplishment he's most proud of: in 2021, he published and wrote his own children's book. And he's an Ichiro Suzuki fan. I like that. I love Ichiro. Ichiro is one of the best players I've ever seen. He's a young kid. I think he's either the youngest or almost the youngest on this cast. I think he's got an uphill battle to really just fight through and climb. But there's a lot of people that seem to be kind of in his archetype. So I'm a little curious of how it'll turn out for him on this cast as a viewer. Next up is Hannah Rose. She's 33 years old, that's my age, from Woodbridge, Connecticut, currently living in Baltimore City, Maryland. She's a therapist. She would describe herself as enthusiastic, passionate, and authentic. And I have to tell you, from the videos I've seen released today, that is very true. It's like I'm looking at a tattoo-armed Kellie Wentworth with the way she describes things, her cadence, how blunt she is. Love that. She wants to push herself to be as much as she can, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's her favorite show, and she can't wait to be a part of it. I feel that. I feel that for sure. Player she most identifies with is Aubrey Bracco, but she hopes she'll play just like her and Kellie Wentworth. No surprise, obviously. It's shocking. Her favorite hobbies are musical theater, the Peloton, and anything to do with her dog, Ralph. Biggest accomplishment she's proud of, getting sober when she was 20 years old. That's interesting because right away you see that and you go like, okay, well, she is a counselor. That means that, you know, maybe she's taken some of her experience of being an addict, which is what I assume she's referring to. I don't know if it's drug or alcohol, and being an addict. And now she's transferred that into her therapy practice, which is really interesting because I think a lot of ways it gives you vibes of Carolyn from season 44, where she has a similar job as a counselor. And she was a drug counselor, but she was also an addict for a long time. Now, Hannah has a little bit of a different circumstance. I don't know how long she was an addict, but she said she got sober at 20, so she probably had a much shorter window than Carolyn to work off of. So very interesting. It looks like she's going to be an awesome character. I hope she doesn't go out early, but I have a bad feeling she'll flame out. She just seems too aggressive, right? She just seems too aggressive. But she's one of my preseason favorites, I think. So I hope it doesn't happen, but I don't know. It's the vibe. It's the vibe. Bruce Perrault from Survivor 44 and now Survivor 45. 47 years old from West Warwick, Rhode Island. He's an insurance agent and he used to be in the Navy. 3 words to describe him: funny, competitive, and energetic. He is pretty much everything that we could expect. You know, the preview when he goes, "Let's go!" Why do you want to be part of Survivor? He loves it. He lost the chance and now he's got it back. The construct of this game is a microcosm of our everyday. He's thinking on another level than everyone else right now. I can already tell you that. Which player do you identify with the most with? Who do you want to play most like? Jeremy Collins is the guy he identifies the most with. I'm really glad that he said Jeremy because I think Jeremy is an awesome player to relate to. He'd like to play like Jeremy, like Jesse from season 43, and he said the Alligator, Gabler. We love Gabler. Love to see Gabler get his props out there. Cannot conform to just one player style. And that's how you need to win, Bruce. This is why, Bruce, I'm confident you're going to do well. I'm loving your answers. Listen to this BDE answer from Bruce. Why will you be the sole survivor? I will be the sole survivor because this is my time. Let's go! All right, next up is J Maya, or her full name, Janani Krishnan Jha. I like that name a lot better. I wish you would go with that more normally. She's the singer. She's 24 years old, from San Francisco, California. LA right now is where she's living. She describes herself as ambitious, optimistic, and creative. All those things, I think, radiate from her as I look at her photo. She is obviously beautiful. She describes herself in ways that helps determine some of those characteristics. Says when she was a kid growing up, she had an adventure novel, and she always thought about embarking on a wonderful adventure, and Survivor is really what it comes down to. They look for these quests of strong heroines, like being able to have risk takers, strong leaders, and adapt quickly, and looks like that's how she feels here. Note that all of her writing for her bio is very long, so she is very verbose and has a lot of thoughts, which already is telling me a lot about how she could potentially play the game. Very, very interesting. One life experience that you feel has prepared you for the game. She said, a couple years ago, I took the biggest risk of my life. I turned down admission to Harvard Law in order to become a singer-songwriter. I have to say, I think you should have gone with Harvard Law, but you know, if that's not the direction you wanted to go, totally fine. She feels as though it's been going pretty well. She's trying to start over with a music career, and that's really interesting. She's a risk taker, that's for sure. Which player do you identify with the most? Who do you think you'll play the most like? She identifies with Parvati, believes that's been such a role model of hers, and can relate with her in a few ways. I could definitely see that myself, just from reading all of this. That's not surprising one bit. They're both named after powerful Hindu goddesses. Jay plans to show her strength and strategic skill and her bubbly personality, and she adores Marianne from season 42, the winner. Her game as well, how she lay low despite her personality being kind of big. It's funny as she's comparing to those people, but I immediately kind of think Claire from Survivor 44. Hopefully it goes a lot better than what happened for Claire in Survivor 44. Pro tip for Jay, compete in challenges. It helps usually, so you don't get super soaked out of the game, okay? Favorite hobbies, reading. She loves fantasy, science fiction, and romance. Good choices. Running, pickup soccer, crossword puzzles, and punning. What the shit is it with puns in this cast? What is something we would never know from looking at you? You probably wouldn't be able to tell that I'm the youngest international pun championship award winner in history. What the hell is going on with puns? Why would you be the sole survivor? I'm adaptable. I've operated in many different spheres, competitive punning, debate, the music industry, the same way. First, observably quieting, then fitting myself into the gaps to carve out my own space. I feel like I've been preparing for Survivor my whole life. Well, Jay, I know she's a preseason favorite for a lot of people right now. I cannot imagine a world where this person actually wins the game based off of all of this to completely unpack. But I think she's going to be a very interesting character no matter what. And I think I would like her a lot in real life. So next one, we're going to move on to Drew Basile, I'm not sure. This is 23 years old from Birmingham, Michigan. But interestingly enough, currently living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from. I wonder if he lives in the Northeast. That'd be awesome. He's a grad student, and he would describe himself as smart, witty, and dynamic. What previous player do you identify with the most? He identifies most with Jonathan Penner from Survivor Cook Islands, Micronesia, and also Survivor Philippines. But he thinks that a lot of people are going to compare him to Cochran. Said he feels very authentic and he really leans into his quirks. And I love the old school, like this very, like, not old school, but obscure reference of who else he thinks he'd kind of be like is Ryan Ulrich from season 35. A little nerdy, mousy Ryan that somehow made it to the end with Devin. I love an obscure one. Everyone thinks they're Tony for some reason, and yeah, he didn't pick that, thankfully. Favorite hobbies, playing Scrabble, writing, and trivia. Well, it's not puns, so there you go. And apparently he's a trivia national champion, and he did it in 2019. I'm impressed, but I guess once the pandemic hit, he took his foot off the gas, you know? He believes he'll be the sole survivor because he's very personable and authentic and a good strategist and potent speaker. I happen to believe that he's probably right. He'll probably go a little bit further because of that, and I have a lot of hope for him. Julie Alley, one of the two older players on this season. There's not many of them. I think there's only 2 over the age of 40. This is one of the youngest casts I've probably ever seen. 49 years old, Brentwood, Tennessee, so she's got the Tennessee accent, nice. A state attorney. Hardworking, loyal, and smart are the 3 words she would use to describe herself. And what's interesting is she says, why do you want to be part of Survivor? She first started watching, she watched Survivor Second Chance, Cambodia, which is from season 31. And she had first seen it at the age of 40 as a single mom. And she said, you know what, I'm hooked. I want to go on Survivor, I want to take risks. I want to get in there. And I love that. She identifies with being Suri as far as how she would most like to compare herself to, and Jessie from season 43 of how she really hopes she can play. I would be shocked if she played like Jessie from Survivor 43. I know it's all about the family and, you know, make that money or go get that money. Everyone wants that, but playing like Jessie is very difficult. So we'll see if it does manifest. Suri would be a great measuring stick. That woman should have won Survivor like 3 out of her 4 times. And she wants to be the sole survivor because she wants to be an inspiration to other women in their 40s and older. It's never too late to start over and do something new. And you know what? That's damn right. It's never too late. Get in there, apply just like you did, even though you only became a fan in season 31. And now you're out there. You're living the experience of a lifetime. So I'm very happy to have you on this season. And I hope you do fantastic. I could see you getting top 5. But again, that's based off very little information. Jake O'Kane, 26 years old from Hanson, Massachusetts, now currently living in Boston, Massachusetts. Occupation, he's an attorney. 3 words to describe him. Boisterous, wily, persistent. If that isn't what I think of for a lot of people from Boston, a lot of guys named Jake, that I don't know. I don't know what else I would use. Basically, there's no surprise in those attributes if I'm being stereotypically regional. I'm an East Coast guy, I get it. Why do you want to be part of Survivor? It's a celebration of everything they've accomplished in their life, all their Boston accomplishments. They lost 80 pounds in the process of working 2 jobs in law school. That's pretty damn impressive, Jake. Good job. The highest accomplishment for any Jake since Jake from State Farm got his job. What previous player do I identify with the most? He says Wendell, because they both have a logical side, both going to law school and also creatives. Fun fact, I didn't know Wendell went to law school, so prize on me, egg on my face. Favorite hobbies, theater, Dungeons and Dragons, and working out. Okay, Jake, I'm coming around on you. the Boston thing isn't weighing you down anymore. I've never played D&D, but a lot of people do, and it seems like a really fun thing to do. I like musical theater. Okay. Pet peeves. People who take themselves too seriously. Perfect, because the Super Fun Time show is made because people take Survivor too seriously sometimes, and that's good. I'm glad that you think that. Now you just got to live it, and you're going to be a favorite of this channel in no time. Why will you be the sole survivor? He says he'll be the sole survivor because no one wants it more than him, and no one's going to work harder than him to achieve it. He's a people person with intelligence and is going to use his social skills and navigate through the game. Next up, Katurah Tops, 35 years old, from St. Louis, Missouri, and currently living in Brooklyn, New York, civil rights attorney. Funny enough, she's considered one of the old players of this game, and that's kind of mind-boggling. Describe yourself as calculating, determined, unexpected. I actually fully believe that based off the little bit we know just from the top. Just being older, civil rights attorney, she's obviously brilliant, and she's had to navigate some really tough environments. So there you go. Why do you want to be a part of Survivor? To remind herself of the power that the brave and multi-dimensional woman inside of me holds. It's a great answer. Also because she believes that doing things that scare the crap out of you is truly living. Also a good answer, fair. One's like super logical and like, yeah, this is why I'm gonna be great. And the other one's like, well, honestly, I don't know, but I feel like I should do it. What's one life experience you feel has prepared you for the game? Walking through the world as a black person, a woman, a queer person, and a child of poverty. Those certainly are big experiences. I have none of those identities, and I'm wondering if they will help all the time in these environments, but it really depends on the breakdown usually. But Survivor has been pretty diverse, so I think it helps really foster some of those identities a little bit more than in the past. Which players do you identify with the most in the past? Natalie Anderson, I assume, from Survivor San Juan del Sur, and Spencer from Survivor Cagayan for their never quit attitudes. I think I'll have a mixture of Natalie's determination with a little bit of Rob's manipulative leadership. Who the hell is Rob? All of a sudden, Rob came out of here in this article. Did Katurah forget what survivor she picked in her bio? Did she forget she chose Spencer and not Rob? I love that already, if that's the case. Because I think these bios are like sent in from the castaways directly. So this is funny. I assume Boston Rob? Or is she talking about Rob Sesternino? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But overall, I think it'll be a new player entirely, which I would hope so, because she mentioned 3 players, even though she only meant to say 2, I guess. What will you value in an alliance partner? Loyalty so unrelenting that it's illogical. I love that answer. I mean, good luck finding it, but I love that answer. Favorite hobbies? Hot yoga, delicious food in gorgeous locations, obviously, and countering systemic racism. She's authentic. I gotta give that to her. Pet peeves: slow walkers, slow talkers, and people who ooze privilege. I'm noticing a big pattern in Katurah's response in all of her stuff here. However, it's pretty what you would expect, I think, from a civil rights attorney. So I'm not turned off in any way from it, but it's very interesting how these are crafted, because there's some castaways that clearly crafted theirs to make themselves appear like more funny, or they were short about it so that because I guess they just didn't feel that they needed to take the time to write too much, because that's just not who they are as people. So this really is very representative, and I'm getting a lot about Katurah right now, which I think is super, super interesting. Who in your life is your biggest inspiration? Katurah, the child version. The little girl faced some of the most unimaginable obstacles, yet still decided to protect herself, become a civil rights lawyer, and break generational curses. She grew up and did exactly that. I love that her biggest inspiration is herself. It's actually extremely poetic and beautiful what she just said, but I just love thinking about it from a ridiculous standpoint. Like someone's like, Katurah, I'm really glad to have you here. You're great and you've accomplished so much. Who do you have to thank for it? I'm gonna thank myself and only myself. You know, I worked really hard to get here. I'm wonderful, in your face. And that's how it feels while I just read that. Even though I know that's not what she meant, I'm sure Katurah is a lovely person. Can't wait to talk to her one day. But just reading the bio, this was actually kind of fun for me. And the final note, why will you be the sole survivor? Because I've been preparing for it for life, even when I didn't realize it. Every one of these answers is like crazy deep from her. So I think you have a pretty good idea of what you're gonna get with Katurah in the game. Unless she turns it off entirely, which I will be annoyed with, because she clearly, she oozes this, like all of this. And if she doesn't let it come out in the game, will I be impressed that she can like switch, like code switch, right? Yes, but I will be disappointed because I am liking what the character of Katurah is shaping up to be. Next up is Kaleb Geberwold. Mr. Fancy Pants over here with his multicolored pants. He's 29 years old from Port Coquitlam, Canada, currently living in Vancouver, the home of the Canucks. He's currently in software sales. The 3 words he would use to describe him are charismatic, opportunistic, and golden retriever. Those are 4 words, sir, and I have a feeling this guy doesn't mind about breaking rules all the time. So watch out for that. He wants to be on Survivor because he remembers laughing with his mom at the pathetic, crying survivors on TV. That's amazing. Also, he said, $1 million US goes way further in Canada. Paraphrasing, but he said he wants to get in on that. And he said he's failed a lot in his life, but he has the street smarts to make it work. And I love that. And what previous player do you identify with the most? He actually didn't give an answer because he said Tony, but then he said, out of respect, he's not going to say Tony. I think you should say Tony. I think Tony's games are actually really messy. I know he won twice, but to be fair, the second time he won, it was in a season where someone had to win twice. Or Sandra win 3 times, of course. So I'm less impressed with Tony's win, but his Cagayan win was pretty messy, honestly. Favorite hobbies: basketball, travel, trying things for the first time, friend-related activities, trouble. This man just said his hobby was trouble. Trouble! Now, he has lived in 27 countries, 28 being Fiji, which I think is highly interesting. He says he's going to be the sole survivor because even though he's never been qualified for anything, he's succeeded. So why not him to be the sole survivor, which I think is an interesting question. He's had a lot of random jobs, and he thinks his personality is good enough to get him through. So that's why he thinks he's going to win. And he's definitely got a big personality, and I have a lot of hope that he'll do well. Next up is Kellie Nalbandian. This is the 30-year-old critical care nurse from Weston, Connecticut, and currently living in New York. 3 words to describe it: scrappy, deliberate, intuitive. I think those are my 3 favorite words of description so far of any one of these bios. I love it. She wants to be a part of Survivor because she started watching Survivor while she was working as a COVID pandemic nurse in New York City. And obviously that was very difficult. It's like being a cop in New York City back around 2001 or a firefighter around then. That's something that I think we're naturally just kind of drawn to as Americans in general. She wants to go full tilt, just like Franny, full tilt boogie. I love it. She had a lot of experience in the medical field. She feels will prepare her for the game. She identifies more so with Kelly Wentworth as people in the past. Her tenaciousness, she thinks, is going to come through, and a little bit of a scrappy vibe. But really thinks like Parvati, which is a great combination if you could be Kelly and Parvati. Has the ability to connect with and draw on lots of different types of people with some charm, some authenticity, but still maintain an independent, ruthless mental strategy. I like that. And she wants to get some inspiration from Suri, because Suri was a nurse as well, and probably the most famous nurse that ever played the game. So absolutely love that. She wants an alliance partner that's going to be traditionally predictable. I have to agree with that. I would probably want that myself, so I'm in the same wavelength. She loves to play the acoustic guitar, watch and play soccer, and taking board games way too seriously. Don't get in a tribe with Brandon, I guess, if that's the case. No Settlers of Catan for those two, hopefully, out there. Thinks that they will be the sole survivor because the job requires them to be adaptable in the face of constant chaos and change, and I think that makes a lot of sense. She thinks she could be a chameleon. She could bro out with the jocks. She thinks she can nerd out with the nerds and be besties with the girls. There's no one she can't bond with. I mean, I think that Kelly is going to bring a lot of spirit. I like her. I like the look of her and what she's going to bring to the table. I'm not sure how she's going to do. I'm feeling mid-game kick out, but who knows? You know, these things break differently. Next up is Nicholas Sifu Alsup. At least I'm saying that right. S-I-F-U. 30 years old from O'Fallon, Illinois. Currently living in O'Fallon, Illinois. They're a gym owner. 3 words to describe them: outgoing, loving, empowering. I like this. I like this. This is good. They didn't say like powerful, overwhelming, bone crushing. That's kind of what I expected. But instead, they want to be on Survivor because they want to test themselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, have a big impact on the world with all the programs and outreach. Looks like they work with kids. I love that. Way to go, Sifu. I like this. I like this, where this is going. They've been a martial artist their whole life as well. Started the Yang style Tai Chi when they were 6. And they've been going on and creating them to be more mentally tough. I like it. I like it, Sifu. Which player do you identify with the most? Tony Vlachos. He likes the ferocity of the player and his reason. It's really just to help his family and help his family grow. And apparently Sifu is really into that. Which, I mean, who isn't into seeing their family grow and do better and everything? What is something you would never know from looking at you? He loves Dragon Ball Z. I love Dragon Ball Z. I'm a huge fan of Vegeta in particular. So I'm actually really curious to know if he's like a Goku guy or he's a Vegeta guy. Because if he's a Goku guy, he's basic. He should be just sipping on pumpkin lattes. But if you're a Vegeta fan, that's a different story. And he's going to win because he's going to be undeniably himself. He's going to be unwavering in his pursuit. He's going to get that title. And I like that, you know? Do whatever you got to whatever you got to do to win. Kendra McQuarrie is next up. 31 years old from Haverhill, Massachusetts, currently living in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I knew it. I saw the outfit and I said, she's in Colorado, whatever that means. She's a bartender. She described herself as outgoing, determined, enthusiastic. I love that. I love those traits already. She wants to be on Survivor because she loves to challenge herself and put herself into situations and grow as a person. That's what we all should be doing. And Survivor checks all those boxes. I love that. She walked the Camino Primitivo in Spain by herself. And I think I heard of this. This like El Camino, I think that's like a big hiking thing that takes forever. It says 15 miles in a day in a new country, but just using a backpack. Yeah, that's apparently like a big deal. I had a friend who wouldn't shut up about that. They're like, oh, when I hiked El Camino and this and that. And I was like, oh, okay. So you hiked, okay. It's apparently a big thing. So that's awesome. That's a big one. Definitely, I think you're going to do a lot of hiking on Survivor, so that's a big help. The previous player that she identifies with the most, she sees bits of herself in a lot of strong female characters, like Amanda Kimmel, at least I assume Amanda Kimmel, Michelle from Survivor Co. Wrong, and Kim Spradlin from Survivor One World. But the player she really connected with the most is Carolyn from season 44. You know, on the Super Fun Time show, we love Carolyn. She's one of the all-time GOATs, in my opinion. And she's just this person, Miss McQuarrie, is not afraid to be herself and let her freak flag fly. I love our authenticity, and she wants to bring her own authenticity to the game herself. Favorite hobbies are hiking, no surprise, rollerblading, astrology, reading, camping, cooking, and music. Solid hobbies, no puns. One of her big pet peeves, she hates when people ask the meaning of her tattoos. That is my inclination every time I see someone's tattoo that seems ambiguous. I'm surprised that that's such an issue with tattoo havers in the world. I don't have any, so I don't have that problem. And if I did, it would probably be something super transparent. But I'm kind of surprised. It's like art for the rest of the world. I'm surprised they don't want to talk about it, you know? Kendra said that an interesting fact about her, she sounds like Drew Barrymore. I'm super curious. I'll have to listen to her more. But I mean, I guess I caught some of it, but I don't know. If she sounds like Drew Barrymore, hopefully one of the guys kind of sounds like Adam Sandler. We can call this season 45 First Dates. And she thinks she's going to be the sole survivor because she's got moxie. And we're going to be talking in 1920 speak. Unwavering optimism, courage, and gut instincts will guide her way to the sole survivor. So even though I made a lot of jokes, I actually love Kendra's vibe. I hope she does really well in the game. I think she will do well in the game. And she's maybe the person I would most like to hang out with of this whole cast. Sean Edwards, 35 years old from Lawrence, New Jersey, currently living in Provo, Orem, Utah. That sounds so made up. Provo, Orem is not real. That's fake. He's a school principal. The words to describe him are connection seeker, ambitiously minded, and magnetic energy. So that's 6 words, Sean. You are absolutely verbose. That is what I've learned. And you have the arrogance to think that you can flout the 3 words to describe you prompt. Like, that's ridiculous. No one does that. There's only one person that stepped out of line so far throughout this whole thing and decided to go to 4 words. And you basically stomped all over them and went to 6. Ridiculous. Honestly, I think that right there tells you more about Sean than maybe some other answers that would come in this bio. He gave 6 words to a 3-word prompt. He wants to be on Survivor because ever since the beginning, he's been watching it and he's always wanted to play, and he's never had the confidence to put himself out there. He wants to reclaim a lot of missed opportunities, and Survivor has a lot of that. An experience he feels prepared him for the game is being a gay man. Overcoming social stigma and religious expectation helped him to develop mental grit, which I agree, but I'm kind of curious about the religious expectations they mean there. I wonder if that's like a Catholicism thing, or is it some other base? I'm super curious. Previous player he identifies with the most is Zeke Smith, always authentic and true to himself, always super genuine, and hopes and imagines he'll play more like Suri and Todd Herzog. the winner of Survivor China, which is a wonderful person to try to replicate. He wants to use people to get him further and then vote him out when that's basically useless. And that's the goal here of trying to be like Suri and Todd, I guess. Favorite hobbies, his husband, Matt, is a great cook, so he likes to eat food. That eating food is not a hobby. Come on, man. You're not even saying you're traveling places to eat the food. You're just like, oh, I'm sitting at home and I eat my husband's food. That's not a hobby. He believes he'll be the sole survivor here because it's largely a social game, and he believes his skills lead him to become the new sole survivor. He can read emotions, empathize, connect with anyone, and make them feel comfortable. So I think he's gonna win. I don't know how I feel about Sean, honestly. I'm getting big Daniel Strunk vibes right now. And I think Daniel Strunk is wonderful to watch on TV. I don't feel as great about Daniel Strunk as an actual player. And I know Sean says he's not going to be Daniel, but I'm saying he may be Daniel. So we'll see. And lastly, we have Sabiyah Broderick. This is a 28 years old person from Locust Grove, Georgia, currently living in Jacksonville, North Carolina. She is a truck driver, and the 3 words she would use to describe her are resilient, vibrant, and proud. And she wants to be on Survivor because it's a game that challenges you not only physically, mentally, and emotionally, but spiritually. It's a test of will and faith. She's already on the right path. She's clearly going to be fine physically, considering she is a veteran. She's been in the Marine Corps, and she's a trucker. So I think she's going to be fine dealing with the macho environment that Survivor can have at times. And she's probably going to make it through the actual pre-merge and get to the merge. I feel pretty confident about that already. And she's right. Test of faith is a huge deal, especially so many of these challenges come down to will and faith and how long can you keep it tough up here and resolving inside yourself. You're just not going to lose or you're going to win or whatever. So I respect the heck out of her. She was in the U.S. Marine Corps for 4 years, which is a big deal. She likes to say that she's going to play like Suri and have her strategic mind and hopefully continue that legacy. It's fascinating. So many people chose Suri this time around when, like last season, 44, everyone was choosing either Jeremy or Natalie Anderson or Erica Kaspausen from season 41. No Ericas this time around. We got one Marianne, but a ton of Suris and Tonys. So I think it's always interesting to see who is kind of the popular choice to that question. Favorite hobbies: basketball, new restaurant dates, and painting. I wonder if she means like she's a serial dater at restaurants or just like she makes dates with friends to go to a new restaurant. I don't know. She hates lazy people and people who say no. So hopefully she doesn't have a lazy tribe. I mean, from what I can tell, she's gonna have a very interesting tribe, the Lolo tribe of Brandon, Emily, Hannah, Kaleb, and Sean and herself. I would have to imagine Sabiyah, from what I can tell, is gonna hate Emily, and maybe Brandon too. So this will be interesting how that's gonna shape up. I mean, she's a Marine, and I don't know. It looks like, I think they put that tribe together knowing it's going to fight, basically, is what I'm saying. But I also think it's going to be the premier tribe at the same time. Not the most well-oiled machine, but the one we're going to enjoy watching the most. Maybe the train wreck of the season. And she believes she will be the sole survivor because she's been preparing unconsciously for this show her whole life. It is her destiny to be the sole survivor. I think that's maybe like the second or third best reason why they're going to win the game, behind Bruce in particular. But that's a great answer. So that's it. That's the summary. Those are my first impressions, some of the information on the bios of the Survivor 45 cast. Interesting cast. I don't think there's a lot of characters that pop out from this. I think overall, maybe we're spoiled. Maybe it's because we're comparing like 4th of July fireworks next to the average parade. And I think 44 had more characters. I think 43 had more characters based off of what I could tell from the pre-show. I'm hopeful, but I'm nervous that this cast is not going to be as explosive as maybe some other ones. Maybe they won't have as many people that others are going to stan. But it does look like there's some high villain potential, which is exciting, but Survivor New Era doesn't really have villains so much. So that's probably going to fall flat on its face. The only one that I'm confident will probably be kind of a villain type is Kaleb. I don't know. We'll see where that goes. Overall, I'm excited to see how it breaks down. I will show you kind of the breakdown of what the tribes look like. We have the Bello tribe, which is the blue tribe. It's going to be Brando, Bruce, Jake, Katurah, Kellie, and Kendra, which is an interesting mix, right? The next tribe, it seems like it's a joke, but it's named Reba, and it's the red tribe, just like Reba McEntire has red hair. That's Austin, Dee, Drew, Jemiah, Julie, and Sifu. which I think is interesting. I think I see this as a very disorganized tribe, but we'll see how it shapes up. I don't know the people. And then finally, the Lulu tribe, which I had talked about a little bit long ago. It's Brandon, Emily, Hannah, Caleb, Sabiyah, and Sean. The tribes are interesting how they're shaping up. I'm looking forward to another season. I'm looking forward to another set of Survivor buffs. I'm a buff fan. I'm super excited. I can't get a full vibe on who's going to win the season, and I don't want to give my predictions yet because I think I'm doing a fantasy draft with a few folks on this channel. But there's some folks that I think are probably not going to win, some that have legit long-term potential, and I think if you listen to this video, you get a few of those vibes from me. But that's going to do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to have more Survivor 45 content, obviously, to talk about as the season comes along, and we're going to have, of course, recaps every week from 45 as the episodes come out. It's going to be really exciting. We have some awesome castaways lined up, and I can't wait to just banter about Survivor. And if you have any Survivor videos you want me to tackle or topics to talk about, no matter how ridiculous they are, actually more ridiculous the topic, the better, in my opinion, because it's fun. Let me know down below in the comment section, and we will talk about it. And of course, follow me on Instagram and Twitter or X or whatever the hell Elon Musk has decided it is going to be. Follow me on there as well, and we'll chat about the game. Otherwise, hope you have an amazing day, everyone. And remember, today, on this day, this very day, you will remember that is the day that I have spoken.